For those of you that love Dragon Rider stories, buckle up. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and today I am here to give you my official review for Ascendant, book 1 in the Songs of Chaos series by Michael R. Miller. So this book is a YA, chosen one, Dragon Rider, very much classic fantasy with lots of twists and turns, wholesome, found family, friendship vibes. We have a magic system in here that is one of the coolest, most thought out magic systems I've read in quite a while, and if any of those things sound interesting to you, this might be the book for you. If you want to check out this book further, go down in the description box below and go read the synopsis and all of those things. I'm not going to give you a summary of what the book is about other than a few basic things, simply because the back of the book does it better. My disclaimer right away for this review is that I am typically not a person who gravitates towards chosen one tropes or dragon rider stories. That's just not the type of fantasy that I typically read. But when I heard the synopsis for this and when Michael Miller reached out to me, I thought, you know what, I want to give this a try because it's definitely outside of my comfort zone, and I do like to try things outside my comfort zone now and then to see what I think, because you never know when something might be an absolute gem. And one of the things that I took out of my experience reading this book is the people that love Dragon Rider stories. This is amazing. In the beginning of this book, we meet a young cook's apprentice named Holt Cook, and that is kind of his lot in life. We are introduced to a world that has a caste system where what you do for an occupation is the place in society that you will be theoretically for the rest of your life. Now, the Dragon Riders of this society are the top. They're the upper echelon, and they are the ones who control a lot of the respect and the power within this world. Holt dreams of becoming a Dragon Rider. He idolizes the Dragon Riders that come into his city, but he keeps getting pushed back down because he's just a cook, right? Well, all that changes when Holt happens to come into possession, we'll put it that way, of a dragon egg. I'm not going to say more than that because that's essentially where we start off in the book. And as you can see on the cover, I'm not really spoiling anything here. As you can also tell from the cover, which by the way is absolutely beautiful, this dragon has something unique about him, and that is the fact that he was born blind. Now, let's talk about some of the things I absolutely loved about this book. The wholesomeness of this story. I was emotionally invested in Ash, the dragon, and Holt so fast. The scenes where Ash is a baby, especially, like, if y'all want to read the cutest portrayal of a baby dragon ever, please read this book because, oh my goodness, the way that Michael Miller introduces these characters and the way that he immediately makes us care about both Holt and Ash and the tiny new bond that they're growing together is so cool. The other thing that I'll say about this book is it is a subtle progression or cultivation fantasy, which basically means that the characters are sort of leveling up through the book as they fight harder and harder adversaries. While I'm usually not a fan of progression or cultivation type fantasy, I have to say in this book, I think Michael Miller did it exceptionally well. It is subtle enough that it doesn't feel like that's the point of the story, right? It doesn't take away from the characters. It doesn't feel like the plot is just predictable. And the focus on the characters and their bond and the found family of this little motley crew that we assemble through the story really, really is the heart of what I loved in this book. From the moment that Ash hatches, he and Holt start building this bond between a dragon and a rider. And this, as you might imagine, is unheard of for this society. And so Holt is trying his best to keep it a secret, but there's a massive catastrophe that happens, and Ash and Holt are very quickly thrown into a world that neither of them could ever have been prepared for. We have Brody, who is kind of this jaded former dragon rider who ended up losing his dragon quite a few years before. And then we are also joined by Talia, who is a noble-born dragon rider, and her dragon, Pyrrha. Now, something I want to talk about when it comes to this book that I think is going to really impress a lot of readers is the magic system. I would encourage you guys to go watch my author interview with Michael Miller. I'll put that up in the cards because he talked about his inspiration for his magic system, and it was so cool. Like, he put so much research and so much thought into the magic system of this story. So one of the things that Michael Miller really didn't want to do in this book, and it shows, is he didn't want the relationship between the dragons and humans to feel one-sided, because dragons in fantasy are often these magical, incredibly powerful creatures. And the question begs to be asked, why do these incredibly majestic, powerful creatures allow humans to ride them and bond them? What are the dragons getting out of this? And that is a question that Miller addresses in this book in a way that I feel is really interesting and intriguing. And he designed an entire magic system of how the dragons collect and use power, and how the humans can actually help them use it in a way that is more pure and less toxic to the dragon, and helps them advance their power and their abilities faster. Which I'm not going to give away too many spoilers for that. Again, there's more of that in the interview that I did with the author, but I just think the way that he lays out the magic system, there's lots of rules that all fit together. The dragons all have different types of powers. It all just makes so much sense, which I thought was really cool. And it's cool to see the magic system and the bond between dragon and rider kind of married in such a unique way. This book is a bit of a chunk, as you can see, but that did not stop me from reading through this very, very quickly. It's a light read. It's very accessible. It's emotional in all the right places. It does, I feel like, slow down quite a bit in the middle section, but the ending, and especially the beginning, that beginning was just, was my favorite part of the book, and the ending definitely leads into the next books in a way that made me really intrigued to see what was going to happen. I definitely emotionally connected with these characters, and I think that especially readers who enjoy classic style fantasy with some modern twists to it, with dragon riders, chosen one tropes done really, really well, and a hard magic system mixed with dragon rider bonds that's just fascinating, are gonna absolutely love this book. And I cannot recommend it highly enough if you like any of those things. So those are my overall thoughts on Ascendant Songs of Chaos Book 1. And I think the best compliment I can give this, honestly, for me personally, is that even with all of those fantasy elements that aren't usually things that I gravitate to, I'm still planning on continuing the series. I don't know when yet, but I am very excited to pick up Book 2, which is Unbound. I recently got the hardcover version of Book 2, and as you can see from the cover, we have got a leveled up Holt and Ash. Very excited about that. These are absolutely gorgeous in person. Look at that. And the third book, Defiant, is coming out on July 13th of this year. So we have less than a month left for Book 3, and the cover for Book 3, I'll put it up here. It looks absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to see what they all look like on the shelf together. And I just think this would also be an incredible gateway series. I can see this being something that brings a lot of new readers into fantasy. I can see it being something that kind of bridges the gap between YA and adult. I can see this being a fantastic gateway starter series for somebody who's younger that's starting to get into fantasy. My son is currently 10, and this is definitely a series that I would hand to him in a few years here, because I think he would absolutely love it. So I think that this series honestly has so much going for it and could appeal to a pretty wide range of people, whether you've been reading fantasy for a while and you want a really wholesome classic series to read, or you're brand new to fantasy and you're looking for something that's very accessible but has a lot of those immediate emotional attachments, or if somebody is younger and looking to bridge that gap as they're growing up into the fantasy genre. I want to give a huge thank you to the author Michael Miller for sending me both Ascendant and Unbound as review copies, and I do want to note as a disclaimer that my receiving these review copies in no way, shape, or form affected my review of the story itself. So, with that said, go check this out if this sounds like a series that you want to try. They're beautiful, they're great Dragon Rider stories, and I think that if you enjoy any of the things I've talked about in this video, that you would really enjoy them as well. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel and hang out on my corner of the internet. I hope you are reading 5-star books. I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you in the next video.